Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Torah Clicks, where I try to give you something worthwhile to click on. So it's been a little while since we've done Mesillas Yesharim, and I know I said in my last video that I was going to try to be a little bit more consistent and do them a little bit more frequently, and unfortunately that didn't come to pass. And I have to give a shout out to a dear cousin of mine, Rashi, who reached out to me by email and said, you said you were going to do these more frequently, and I haven't seen them. Did I miss something? So here they are. I'm going to make an effort again. I really love doing these Mesillas Yesharim videos, and I think that there's such a tremendous amount to be learned from them that I really do want to try to pick up on the consistency and do them a little bit more often. So the last time we met, we're still holding in the preface, in the Hakdama of the Ramchal to the Mesillas Yesharim. And as I've said many times, the Hakdama, the preface, is an integral part of the Sefer, in which he lays many of the foundations for the entire Sefer. So the last time we met, we were discussing how the Ramchal says that any person of intellect, any person with intelligence, realizes that he carries a great obligation to purify his mind, purify his thoughts, and purify his service of Hashem, so that his service of Hashem should be done properly. It should be done with the proper kavanahs, with the proper intent, and the proper thoughts. And he says that any person of intellect has to understand this. The truth is, if a person realizes that he was put into this world for the purpose of Avodas Hashem, then automatically he has to come to that realization, the need to purify his service of Hashem. I used this analogy, I think, another time. Imagine if you were selected to serve the king, and you knew that the king can read your mind. You know that your mind and your heart are an open book to the king. So you understand immediately that before you go in to serve the king, you have a great obligation to purify your thoughts, purify what motivates you. The king is going to know everything that you're thinking. He's going to immediately know what lies behind every one of your actions. He knows exactly what drives you. So how could you walk into the throne room before making sure to cleanse and purify everything that you're going to think? The king is going to know everything that you think. And this is what the Ramchal said. The Ramchal said last time we met, he said that the Rabbeinu Shalom, lost the place here, he said the Rabbeinu Shalom, he brought down the pasuk from Divrei Hayamim, Kichal Lavava Yisdairesh Hashem. The Rabbeinu Shalom searches out every heart. The Chal Yetzer Machshava Yisu Maven, and he understands what motivates every one of our actions. So that's the king. This is the Rabbeinu Shalom, the king who we're going in to serve. So obviously, we carry a great obligation. It's not enough for us to just walk into shul and daven shachris. We come into shul and we put on our tefillin. The Rabbeinu Shalom knows why we're putting on tefillin. He knows if we're paying any attention to the fact that we're putting on tefillin, or we're just putting on tefillin by rote and we're not even thinking about what we're doing. When we're davening, the Rabbeinu Shalom knows if our heart is in our davening or if we're just mumbling words that we don't know what we're doing. So it's not enough to just have a checklist and say, okay, I davened Shachris, I davened Mincha, I davened Ma'ariv, I learned Daf Yomi, I did some other learning, I did a chesed today, I helped somebody out today. The Rabbeinu Shalom knows everything that goes on in our hearts and in our minds. So is it a Shachris? If you didn't have any kavanah in your davening, can you call that a Shachris? If you said Psukei de Zimra and you read all of these praises of the Rabbeinu Shalom from Sefer Tehillim, but you didn't have your mind on a single thing that you said, did you praise the Rabbeinu Shalom? If you came to Shemayin Esrei and you said, Rafeinu Hashem v'nei Rafei, heal us, Rabbeinu Shalom, and we will be healed, but you had no intent and you had no understanding and you're busy thinking about the office or you're busy thinking about what's going on at home, is that a tefillah? Is that a prayer? So once you have the understanding, once you have the realization that you have an obligation to serve Hashem, once you have that first understanding, the understanding that I was put here in this world for a purpose, and my main purpose in this world is Avodas Hashem, comes together with that, the understanding, the need to purify that service of Hashem and to work on it and to make it as wonderful as possible and to cleanse it and to make it pure. Okay, that's more or less a recap of what we said last time. Now the Mesillas Yesharim says here, once we understand this, Ma nene b'yom teichecha, what will we answer on the day of reproof, the day of judgment, Lachar Me'av Esrim? What will we answer? Im hisrashalnu min ha'ion hazeh, if we were neglectful of this study, v'hinachnu, and we cast aside davar shehu kol kach mutal aleinu, something which is so incumbent upon us, shehu ikar mahashem Elokeinu shoel me'imanu, to the extent that it is the main thing that Hashem asks of us, the number one thing that Hashem asks of us. Where does the Ramchal get this from? He gets it from a pasuk. The pasuk in Sefer Dvarim. The pasuk says, "Va'ata Yisrael." Moshe Rabbeinu said to Klal Yisrael, "Va'ata Yisrael." Now, Klal Yisrael, Ma Hashem Elokeinu shoel me'imach. What does Hashem, our God, ask of you? Ki im liyira isai. What does Rabbi Hashem ask of you? He asks of you that you should have Yira Shamayim and that you should serve Him. That's the ikr. That's the main thing that Hashem asks of us. The Rabbi Hashem doesn't ask of us that we should have fancy houses. The Rabbi Hashem doesn't ask of us that we should work hard so that we could buy a BMW. The Rabbi Hashem doesn't ask that. And the truth be told, I would even take it a step further. The Rabbi Shalom doesn't ask of us that we should learn Daf Yomi. The Rabbi Shalom doesn't ask of us that we should have a Shmiras Halashon program. I'm not saying that those aren't wonderful things. Of course they are. But the Rabbi Shalom asks what lies behind those things. It's not enough to go learn Daf Yomi. So I learned Shas, and now I can come to MetLife Stadium and I can celebrate a Siyum. Why did you learn? Did you learn Torah Lishma? Did you learn Torah because you recognize that the Torah is the wisdom of the Rabbeinu Shalom, that it's Das Elyon, and that the Rabbeinu Shalom wants you to learn Torah so that you should refine your neshama and you should become davuk to him, you should become attached to him? Why did you do chasadim? Did you do chasadim because you're a nice person and because it makes you feel good to help somebody? I'm not saying that that's not a nice thing. It's always wonderful to help somebody. But what the Rabbeinu Shalom wants from us is kim liyira isai. The Rabbeinu Shalom wants our chesed to be driven by mahu af'ata, by an aspiration that we're following the dictates of the Rabbeinu Shalom, that we're trying to do what the Rabbeinu Shalom would do. The Rabbeinu Shalom is a Gomel Chesed, so he wants you to be a Gomel Chesed. He wants you to do Torah Dika Chesed, but he wants you to do Chesed because you're a From Yid, because you're a Ben Torah, because you follow the dictates of the Torah. What the Rabbeinu Shalom wants is Ki Im Liyira Isai. That's the main thing that the Rabbeinu Shalom wants. Now, what will we answer on the day of judgment if we don't study these things? Hayitachin asks the Ramchal, is it possible sheyiga v'yamol sichlenu, that we should labor and work with our intellect? B'chakiros asher loy nischayavnu bam. Chakiros are investigations. B'chakiros asher loy nischayavnu bam. How many things do we study and do we look into that we have absolutely no obligation to do? Nobody told us to look into these things. A person will spend time. Earlier on, the Ramchal spoke about chakiros. He spoke about chakiros like astronomy or like looking into nature. Somebody has a hobby. He enjoys botany, so he enjoys studying plants. So this tree is this, and this plant is that, and this one is toxic, and this one is healthy, and this one could be used for this, and this one could be used for that. And he'll spend hours on it. Or other studies that people enjoy. You're not obligated to do those things. Or how about pilpulim? Pilpulim, I would say, are analyses. We talk about pilpulim. Somebody goes into the Bismedrish and he writes a chabura on a complex sugya. He analyzes a complex sugya. Maybe he'll take the sugya in Baba Kama of Yir Shalom Midas, or he'll take another sugya, Mitzvah Baba Avera, and he'll do a whole analysis on a complex sugya, and he'll work out all of the details. This shita holds like this, and this shita holds like that, and the Rif holds like this, and the Rosh holds like that, and the Rambam held like this. And the reason the Rambam says this over here and different over there is because over here he was saying like this, and over here, whole complex. He'll write 14 pages, 20 pages, but sometimes it's a pilpul. There really is no tangible benefit from that whole pilpul. You'll go and you'll ask him after he spends hours and hours and hours writing the Chabura, and after he spends an hour saying the Chabura, and after he writes 15 pages and edits the 15 pages, and then you ask him, does it have any nafkamina la halacha? Halacha lamaisa, this whole pilpul that you wrote, does it make any nafkamina? No, we don't paskin like this anyway. We don't paskin like the Yeshitas. We know what the Psak Halacha is. Open the Shulchan Aruch, you'll see the Psak Halacha. This is a pilpul. It gives us a greater understanding in the sugya. But asher lo yatsa lanu shum pri mehem, there really is no peri. There's no tangible benefit. There's no usable outcome from the whole pilpul. It's Talmud Torah. You'll get schar for Talmud Torah. You do it lishma. It's limud Torah lishma. But is there a peri? Is there something that came out of it? Is there something tangible? Is there a practical application of the whole thing? Very often not. And somebody will spend hours and hours and hours and hours on it. V'dinim asher einam shayachim lanu, or studying halachas that don't apply to us. For instance, somebody will sit down and learn kachim. Somebody learns all the intricate halachas of a carbon oila. Unfortunately, we're not bringing carbon oila right now. We don't have a Beis Hamikdash. Is it important to learn kachim? Yes, of course, it's important to learn kachim. But the question is a question of priorities. You're going to spend time on all of these things. So you're going to spend time on work. You're going to spend time on a hobby. You're going to spend time learning Torah, but you'll spend time learning Torah with pilpulim that don't come out with anything lamaisa. You'll spend time learning Torah. You have an interest in kachim. So you're going to learn all the halachas of the Beis Hamikdash and all the halachas of the karbanos, things that do not apply to you. But the obligations, the great obligation that we have to our Creator, the thing that we're obligated on, to our Creator, a great obligation, that that we should leave over to habit. It was the great obligation that we have to really learn what is Yerushalayim, what is Avas Hashem, what does it mean? Is it just talk? We say you should have Yerushalayim. We say in Rosh Chodesh Benjamin, Shabbos Mavarchim, Yerushalayim v'Yiras Chet. What is Yerushalayim? What does it mean? The words mean fear of heaven. What does that mean, fear of heaven? What does it mean? Is it just a simple, basic understanding that Yerushalayim, you should be afraid of the Rebbeinu Shalom? What does that mean? You should be afraid. The Rebbeinu Shalom has coronavirus. He can strike you down. Is that the relationship that you're supposed to have with the Rebbeinu Shalom? The relationship the Rebbeinu Shalom wants you to have with him is one of fear. You should walk around with trepidation all the time, terrified of a tyrant. So what does it mean? Yerushalayim. Avodas Hashem. We're serving the Rebbeinu Shalom. But again, what does that mean? What does that mean? Is it enough to just get up and, like I said, check off the checklist, go to Shachas Mincha Ma'ariv, go to the Daf Yomi Shiur, join the Chesed organization? So now I'm an Oved Hashem? Is that your understanding of what it means to be an Oved Hashem? So these things we should just leave to Hergel. We're not going to study them. We're not going to ponder on them. We're not going to think into them. We'll just Hergel, the same thing we did yesterday. That's what we'll do today. We should leave it aside to mitzvahs hanashim milumada, to do things by rote, the way people do things milumada, they're malumid, and doing it that way. That's the way they're used to doing it. I did it that way last week. I'll do it this way today. I'll do it that way next week. There's no greater depth. Something that we have such a weighty obligation to the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's the number one thing that Hashem wants from us. It's the main thing that Hashem put us into this world and asks of us, is that we should come to a true hakara. We should come to a true understanding of what it means to be an Oved Hashem, and to have true Yerushalayim, and to have true Avas Hashem. And that we don't study? That nobody opens up a book, and nobody reads, and nobody tries to learn what does it mean? And like the Ramchal says, if we don't do it, what on the day of reproof will come up to Shamayim? They're going to ask us in Shamayim. They're going to ask us about it in Shamayim. Well, are we going to have an answer? How are we going to answer it? But of course, this is why we have to spend time learning Musar. So, like I said, I'm going to try to do these Mesillas Yesharim videos a little bit more often. I hope you enjoy them. I hope you gain something from them. I hope you learn something from them. And thank you so much for joining me for Limud HaTorah. The schus of Liman HaTorah should stand ganz Klal Yisrael in good stead. B'chol makom sheheim, anybody who needs a refuah, the Rebbeinu Shalom should send Yeshuas and refuahs. And once we're mispal that everybody in Klal Yisrael should have everything that they need, whether it's a refuah, whether it's parnasa. And of course, we're mispal for the main thing. We're mispal that the Rebbeinu Shalom should bring the Geula Shlema, not just an end to this particular tzara. We want that the Rebbeinu Shalom should bring the Geula Shlema. The Rebbeinu Shalom should bring Mashiach. The Rebbeinu Shalom should bring us to Eretz Yisrael. We should be Zocheh. It's now before Shavuos. We should have a true Kabbalah Satira, and we should be Zocheh to be Ola Regel to Yerushalayim. We should come to the Beis Hamikdash for Shavuos, not have to go through a Shavuos and not a Shavuos, another Shavuos in Gullus. Even in Eretz Yisrael, we're still in Gullus. We don't have a Beis Hamikdash. We can't be Ola Regel. The Rebbeinu Shalom should bring the Bias Gal Tzedek, but the Harav Yameinu. Be well.